the 1970s, I was telling people to never put an amalgam in your tooth. It was very unpopular to do back in the 1970s. So
what do you think?
a lightning bolt. It was my whole life.
What do you think the rate of shared reality, or how that belief system has changed, that mercury is either good or bad in the mouth? And it's much more in the conversation today. Even your non-biological dentists, they're starting to talk about alternatives. But how have you seen that move forward in your time in the dental industry?
Many years ago, so speaking to dental suppliers, they told me 8 years ago that less than half the dentists in the United States buy amalgam to put in people's teeth. So they may not say it out loud, but they don't use amalgam in their office. So where do we see amalgam still being used? Unfortunately, in the worst possible cases, and that's in underserviced communities, free clinics, because amalgam, relatively speaking, is inexpensive relative to some of the composite materials or other types of possible filling materials that are being used.
Yeah.
But if you go to a dentist and he still has amalgam in the office, it's like, oh my gosh, this person has not kept up. Everybody knows that mercury is potentially one of the most toxic things you could put into your nervous system. And that's where it goes. It stays in your tooth, but it doesn't stay in your tooth because just the eating and grinding and that kind of thing, you're going to vaporize some of that mercury.
Yeah. I was in a production of, in my former career, I did Broadway music theater. I was in a production of Alice in Wonderland. And of course, we're doing research on all the parts and the Mad Hatter. And so we started to read, and I was like, oh, this is based on a real disease of hatters working with the felt and a mercury vapors and materials to make the felt malleable. And was a thing.
Yeah,
that is wild to me.
It was a thing.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's indeed what it is. And now, it definitely is mercury amalgams that are the highest exposure that our community has. Yes, you get some in fish and stuff, but by far it's the fillings in people's teeth that creates the highest level of it. The unfortunate thing about when you look at just mercury, you can do these studies, oh, it's not so bad. It is bad. It's the trouble when you combine it with any other material. So if you did how much mercury would it take to kill a mouse, and then you put one other product method, let's say arsenic, well, suddenly 100% of them die. So you go from 1% to 100% just by the presence of another heavy metal. So heavy metals are a problem in our society, obviously, because of industry. So people are exposed to this stuff all the time.